Welcome to the Aisha I Am Woman show where needed conversations happen. I am your host, Aisha, and I'm so delighted. I'm so excited to be here tonight. This is something a little different that we're doing. This is the place where we meet every Sunday evening to talk about things pertaining to women, to equip women, empower women, enlighten women on the effects of childhood trauma on adult behavior. Now, that is something that is very important to me, and I speak to this from a very personal perspective when I talk about childhood trauma and knowing how it can affect adult behavior. Let me tell you something. I've been through my own trials and my own battles and my own things in life, and have learned how to walk through my battles. Let me tell you something. I've learned how to walk through my battles, walk through my struggles, and come out on the other side in a healthy state. And that is something that I think that all women and men too need to know. But if we're talking about creating a better life and a better future for other people, then it is important that we learn to walk through our own battles. I also talk about how when we come into life, we should bring bags. Everybody has a bag. Everybody has something that they're bringing in, and they're bringing into a relationship. And let me tell you, whenever you're bringing something in, then know that you want to bring in a small bag. Don't bring in big bags. I'm telling you, I'm not one that wants to carry everybody's bags. Okay, I don't want to carry everybody's bags, and I don't want you to have to carry my bag. So what we're going to do is we're cleaning up our lives as women. We're cleaning up our lives as Black women especially, and we want to make sure that we're getting our lives in order. And so tonight's topic is somebody help me. Somebody help. Somebody help. Is there somebody out there who can help me as a Black woman to be able to get it together? And am I willing to listen? That is the other thing. Am I willing to listen as a woman and willing to honor and take in advice? Am I willing to do that? And it's important that we be willing to do that, because if we're not willing to do that, then we are going to lose in life. And so I learned how to humble myself and put myself in a place where I can be able to listen to someone else tell me something. So we're going to be getting started here in just a second. And, I'm excited about this new season of the Aisha I Am Woman show, again, where I say this is where needed conversations happen. And we're going to be starting something new here and asking my friends to come on and talk with me, share with me, tell me your opinions, tell me what you have to say, because we are going to be talking about some very important things that, that we don't often talk about. And we're going to have people come on in and say, hey, Keisha, hey, Onisa, thank you so much for coming and joining in on the conversation. And we're talking about this topic on somebody help. Mama is drowning. Mama is drowning. Is there help? Is there help from for the Black woman? And are we out of order? Are we as a community out of order? And is there a way for us to get in order? That's the thing. Is there a way for us to correct our path and get back in proper order if we have lost our way? And so if we've lost our way, who's going to help us get back on to the right track? And what is the right track? Who is the measure of the right track? So we're going to be talking about that. And so we have some special guests here, and we're going to invite them to come on in, and let's see if I can get Miss Keisha on here to talk about come on in. Thank you for coming on in. Keisha, you're here. Let's see if how I can invite you to come on to say you want to be on the video, because we're talking about something that not a lot of people want to talk about. One thing we're talking about is submission, and that's almost like a 4-letter word. When we say that within our community, it's almost like submit me. You're gonna tell me that I need to submit, and what am I submitting to? So how do we do that? How do we turn our lives around and be able to say somebody can tell me something? Submission. When you tell a woman to submit, then you almost cussing her out. So we're going to learn about how we can try to turn our hearts around and let this be a different type of way for us today. Okay, so Miss Keisha, come on in. Come on. Thank you so much. I invite you. I'm so excited about this. You know what? Let's see how we do that. Invite her. She's already here. There we go. I sent you an invitation. Now you can come on, Keisha. Come on in, come on in, come on. Oh, Nisa, there should be an option to say bring them on video. Bring them on video. There you go. Okay, Carlos, are you there? You're there with me. Let's see. Send an invite to you. I'm going to add you in. Thank you for coming on. And we're going to talk about this submission and talking about the woman's place. And does the woman have a place in this world? Does she have a place in this world? And how do we have her come on into her place in this world? Come on in. Come on in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Carlos, are you there? How did we get here?
I don't want to say how did we get here. I just think it's more or less, if you to ask, in my opinion, how do you get someone to submit? And I don't really. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Let me see if I
Can you
can
hear
put.
me now?
I can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Well, what I'll say is I look at it more not. I am a I guess how can I say? I don't really look at things from a gender perspective. I look at it more or less from a person perspective. And how do you get anyone to submit? Well, if you want a person to submit, you have to give them something to submit to.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to, and it's almost like if you're going to follow someone, you need to be a leader. I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to follow something that I do not believe in or can get behind. And respect is something that has to always be present, and a person has to be able to listen. And I'll say that everyone has a problem with listening. A lot of the times we listen simply to respond versus listening to understand. And if you listen to understand, a lot of, as I say, a lot of wrinkles can be ironed out. And then when it comes to, if you look at it from an antiquated perspective of a gender role, well, you have gender roles have been flawed in Black society because when you look at it, it's a Black man is sometimes suppressed in regards to emotions, in regards to how one can respond, and society kind of has it set up to where if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, male female, the Black woman, if she feels offended or threatened, she does have tools that can then in turn jeopardize a Black man's ability to be a provider.
Okay.
So I mean, again, I just feel like everyone has a part to play, and sometimes things break down if we're not aligned with a person that we're not supposed to be with. And that also
Okay.
goes back to
Now,
the submission. Have I reached 7?
Carlos, you use the word, you call it an antiquated role. Why do you call it an antiquated role?
Because in a society where gender roles are basically antiquated, and I'll say they're antiquated when you look at society in the society that we currently reside in. We live in a society where it doesn't always have to be male, female. It can be female, female, male, male. So in those, when you look at it from that perspective, which is why I say I don't look at it from a man, woman. I look at it from a person's perspective. So no matter what type of relationship you may be in, respect must be there. You must be aligned in one's mindset if you're going to accomplish goals. And if you have goals in place in a relationship, well, sometimes someone must submit for the better good.
That's right. Somebody must admit. Somebody has to bow. There has to be leads. Anything with two heads is a monster.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. if you're gonna make one head bow down to another head, you have got to give these two strong heads something to make me want to be quiet. That's why I say you have to be on the same page, the same mindset, and you have to be able to listen. And again, not listen to respond, but listen to understand. Because you might be submitted to something that you should not submit to, and it might be time to check out. Or maybe it's time for you not to submit and for that person to submit in order for you to get to what you're trying to get to accomplish or see. That's my
Okay.
take on it. It's like a
Now,
balance. Sometimes you have to submit, sometimes you have to be in control. So everybody in a relationship has to know that there comes a time when you will have to submit to the mindset that is proper.
okay. Now, Onisa, your question, we had a question for you, was, hey, how are you doing, Onisa? Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for joining us this evening.
I'm
Does
good. Can
the
you hear me?
woman really, I can hear
Okay, great.
you. Can you hear me? Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Does the woman really have a place?
Yes, we have a place. We have multiple places, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So when you think about a woman, we are the nurturers. We are the ones that actually hold this household together. Okay, so when you think about that, we have roles as a wife, the first teacher of our children, healthcare providers, because we are the nurses in our family, and socioeconomically, we are the ones that birth out the workforce. So yes, we have a place, but our places is not just one place.
Yeah.
We're several places. So even in the Bible, it'll tell you, when you go like the Proverbs 14:1, it'll tell you the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish woman pulls it down with her hands.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you build your house? You have to build up the people in your house first.
Right.
So that when they do go outside of your home, that they are productive citizens, right? So we are the producers of mankind. So we have to nurture them. We're their first teachers. We're their first nurses. We are the foundation that lay what society will be like moving forward. So you got to think about that. We are the disciplinarians, so
Yeah.
we are the ones to let our kids and, anybody around us kind of keep them in line, right? So that's just one of those vital things that God just ordained us to be. When you're talking about reproduction, we're the child bearers, so we do that. When you think about production, we do the work. When you think about community, we're the ones that go out and build this community, whether it's volunteer work or whether we're working with our hands. So yes, we have a place, but
We
it's
have
not
a place.
one place. We have multiple places.
Now,
So without the woman, the society in itself will crumble.
the society in itself will crumble. Now, when we say as it relates to how it pertains to a man in our homes,
Mm-hmm.
and how we relate to the man who's in our home, whether that be our husbands or our fathers or however we're relating, the men, how do we put them in their place? Or, are we supposed to be putting them in their place, or just allowing ourselves to let them be in their place? How do we do that? What does that look like?
You have to get in line when you're in a marriage. Okay,
Yes.
so your role. So first, you have to know the order. The order is God first.
Absolutely.
He's the big umbrella.
Yeah.
The next umbrella will be the man, because he's the provider, the protector, the professor.
Yeah.
Then it's us, who we are the neck that holds that man up. That's where the submission comes in. That's where the support comes in. That's where the encouragement comes in. That's where the peace come in. You have to be that man's peace, even when you don't like him. Even when he's gotten on your nerves, you still have to be the peace, because our men go out into this world and they have to fight every day, tooth and nail, just to be accepted as a man. They came in this world with two things against them: they black and they're man. They shouldn't have to come home and fight too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then after that, our role is to cover everybody under us, which is our children.
Mm-hmm.
So we take that.
So now we were talking about, and then that leads into my question I had for Keisha about submission. We were talking about submission. Now, I say often, when you tell a woman to submit, you done cussed her out. You already told her, what am I doing? What is going on here? Submission, is that a 4-letter word? Keisha, talk to me about that. What are your thoughts on a woman's role when it comes to submitting to the authority of the man who is in our life, of the authority of the man? What is your role? What does submission look like? You there, Keisha? You there? You can't hear you. You're on mute. No, you're on mute. I can't hear you now.
Okay, sorry. I'm on my laptop and my phone trying to get
Okay.
in. So my apologies.
That's okay.
When you gave me this topic, the first thing that I thought about submission was the four-letter word lead. And I think that submission has been so commercialized that people automatically think that it transitioned to being submissive. And I think that like within marriages and relationships, going from that commercialized like gender role type of relationship or environment, it has to create a balance of harmony between two people. It's that energy, that vibration, that frequency that these two people bring to the relationship, and where one is deficient, the other one is sufficient. It's like a back and forth, tugging thing. Tug, it's like, hey, I can take this over. I see that my partner can't, or this is foreign to him. So what I'm going to do is, in the process of me leading, I am going to teach him, because if this comes up again, then he'll know how to step in, and then I can, fall back.
Yeah.
Right. I also think that it being so commercialized with, submission, being submissive, it all has to do with an act, right? Whereas when you lead, it has to do with guidance.
Yeah.
So from a biblical standpoint, yeah, there are verses that say, submit, right? But it's usually submitting to God first.
Yes, submitting to God first.
Yes. And then I think that most people apply it, however, and alter that, however, depending on like, what they're trying to benefit from the other person, right?
Yeah.
But if you are leading and you transition into leading, there's always going to be that collective partnership where one may have to give more this time around and the other one hasn't. But it doesn't mean that you have to demoralize that person's position,
Right.
because both of you are learning.
I think when it comes within relationships, right? Because of the nature of woman, for me, I know the nature of my woman is when I came into being married and stuff, to tell me to back it down, submit, and all of this was like, oh my God, I'm a borehead and I don't want to do that. Who's going to tell me what to do, And so I had to learn the hard way that I need to, like you said, the four-letter word, allow them to lead. And it became very difficult for me in order to humble myself, because it takes humility to allow yourself to release from that role as a woman. If you're used to doing everything your own self, you're used to running your own thing, you're used to being, if you're a single mom, you're used to running stuff your own self. And then you introduce someone else into your life and allow them to come on and say, oh, you got to run things now? Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think
So
that's very difficult, like you said, for us women, especially if we've been carrying everything ourselves and doing things ourselves, and then try to let go of those reins, but also do it in the spiritual realm as well. It is hard to balance those two, like motherhood, singlehood, kids, family, all those things. And with me being in the position of being a former naval surface warfare officer, being over divisions, departments, being over, hundreds of people and things of that nature. When I transitioned out of that disciplinary world to civilian world, I still have that officer hat on, right?
I like that.
So then
you bring officer hat home.
And when I got married, I still had that hat on. I didn't know how to like take it off and switch it with, like Onisa said, that mother hat, or that nurturer nursing hat, or that supportive hat. You know what I'm saying? Trading that leader hat for a supportive hat has been like it has been a learning experience. And the thing is that when you make that transition, it doesn't necessarily have to be attached to being submissive to do it. You're just saying, hey, I have been leading, now I want to follow. So now with my husband, I'm like, hey, having to sort of kind of give that up and be
Right.
more humble.
Right.
And then, you know, pray, Lord, help me. You know? But along the way, you got to be comfortable with that uncomfortableness and allow them to show you, you know, in that situation that, hey, you know what, you don't have this on your
Yeah.
own, you know. And like
That
I
was
said,
good
you
what you
know,
said. Be
yeah,
comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now that's the oxymoron in itself. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because the thing is like you're creating a pearl within an oyster. That thing, it creates an irritation, you know.
yeah,
But going through the process, you create something beautiful in the end. You know, so, and I admire, you know, I watch, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Fisher do their thing, you know,
yeah,
and, you know, seeing, you know, you keeping your love alive and putting all the work in and the time in that you have to put in order to create something beautiful, you know, but you've gone through a process in order to be there. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys for coming on. And I have one more special guest that I'm going to bring on, Miss Natasha. She's going to come and talk to me. I heard Carlos a little bit earlier, but I didn't hear him so clearly, but he has some really good information that he, he wanted to share. And we're going to, you know, thank you guys for coming on to share with me and talk with me about you know, submission and the woman's role, and the Black woman, especially us who are in within our community. Somebody help us. And I talk about a lot. Are we willing to listen to somebody who may know more than us? You know, who is out there? Who are the older, the wiser women who are out there to teach us? And where do you pull that from? Where can you get some level of wisdom? Who is it that you listen to? That's what I want to ask you guys. Who is it that you listen to, or you open your heart to get information from, to glean from, to say, I want to be a better woman going forward? Onisa, can you share?
Well, I'm blessed to have in-laws that's been married for over 50
Yes.
years. So, you know, I just kind of sit back and I watch it. And I've had some people in my life that I've just kind of watched. I have cousins that's been married for 30 years.
Yeah.
So when we go through things, you know, I'll call my cousin because she's closer to my age, but she's been married for 30 years. I'll call my cousin and hey, cuz, listen, you know, your girl over here showing out. You know that, right? So can you help me out? You know, because one thing, it is hard from going from a single mother and being a single mother for 26 years to come into a marriage and try to move out, to take that hat off.
Mm-hmm.
And God will put you in a place to where he will humble you to where now you have to depend on the head.
Yeah.
Because you're no longer the head. Because if you don't let the reins go, God will snatch them babies out of your
Mm-hmm.
hand and
Mm-hmm.
make you get in line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get in line, and there's gonna be nothing that you can do about it. So it's been an humbling experience because he's had to draw me with a crane. Some he draw with a chain, but me with a crane. But yeah, so my advice usually comes from someone who has been married, who has gone through some of the ups and downs of marriage, been there for 30 years and still there in spite of, because you're gonna and then other thing, like Keisha said, you're gonna have to pray. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to go and seek wise counsel with God,
Yeah.
and make sure whoever you are listening to outside of your marriage, make sure that they have walked some of the ways that you walked, and they are walking in God's guidance as well. Because my cousin she is a preacher's daughter.
Yeah.
So, you know, she comes at me with scripture listens because this is where the scriptures say you need to do. And I get in line that way. That's where I get mine from.
Yeah. Yeah. Keisha, how about you? Are the older, wiser people in your life that you're able to listen to pull on and glean from their wisdom?
Well, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, a lot of the relationships and things that are external of me, you know, since I've been in the military that long, I really didn't have, you know, someone to really like guide me and say, "Hey, Keisha, this is what you're supposed to do," not only as a woman but as a daughter of
Mm-hmm.
God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was sort of kind of in the pocket of having to learn as I went, and sometimes it's like when you think that your experiences uh, are it. Wait until you get with like a couple that has been married 20 and 30 years,
Yeah.
and what you've been handling, it ain't working, baby. It ain't. So my sisters, actually, they all have been married a good at least 20 something years, and they are examples of, that wisdom that I seek, and being in a situation where a majority of the time, I've been the breadwinner, I've been the provider, I've been making all the decisions, I've been, over, a lot of people. I didn't have anyone that I can literally go to and ask, what do I do in these situations when I'm used to being sort of kind of like that alpha woman, or I'm the one that's doing and doing and doing. So that transition has been hard for me. But now since I moved back to Texas, my sisters have been good examples. And then, and even seeing like Onisa and and just her love in her marriage also, and the things that she posts and the things that she says and all those things give me encouragement too. And it's like, okay, now I not only is she saying it, her actions, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Yeah.
hey, I want to be like that. I
Right.
want to be
Want to be like that when I grow up, man. I just want to be like that when I grow up.
I want to like also, I had to humble myself and be able to be uncomfortable with reaching out to
Yeah.
people to act, and like you said, these people have to be in spirit as well and live the life, that's God speaking, in order for me to receive it in the manner. You know what I'm saying? I always God send me the people on my right path when it comes to this area, because I don't want to be, the black woman, you know what I'm saying? Or, thinking that I'm walking in a room and I don't deserve to be there, or thinking that I do deserve there.
Yeah.
I just want to continue to pray and being on platforms like you introduce me, and just allowing, other women to, because this is how I'm learning to be actually.
Yeah.
I really thank you for this platform, and thank you, Anissa, for your life and being vulnerable and giving your wisdom whenever you can to not only me, I know probably to a whole lot of women. So,
And it's my pleasure. Y'all know I love y'all.
all of you. All,
Listen, I just think about it as I don't speak until God tell me to.
yeah.
And I won't do anything that's gonna be ill will to nobody, and I want to see you win.
Yeah.
I want to see Gretchen win. And
Yes.
proud of you. I don't know what to do. I'm so proud of Keisha. I don't know what to do. And Gretchen, I always appreciate you reaching out to me and allowing me to be a part to share in your growth along this journey. I appreciate you, darling. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both so much for joining tonight. And, we'll continue the conversation and because somebody's going to help us. We're going to get this thing right, but I thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. And we're going to have Miss Tasha come on, and she's going to talk to us about what if he's not on my level. We're going to transition to another way. So thank you guys. Thank y'all so much for coming on. Bye-bye. Okay, so we have Miss Natasha Pritchett. Come on in, girl. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Let's talk. I think we're gonna have to do this like that. She right here.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me on. It has definitely been a great conversation, and I'm learning a lot from you married ladies.
So this is something that I often talk about. We often talk about, let's see how we're going to do this here. There we go. There we go. Hey, Tasha. So we're going to talk about what if the man is not on your level? How do we know whether or not a man in our life is on the level that we want them to be on? How do you know that?
I think the biggest thing is I need to know what level I'm on and where I'm at first, because that's the level set. Because without that, I think it's hard to know what you want and what you're looking for. And I think for me, faith, communication, and money are huge factors when it comes to long-term dating, not just this play situationships that we have going on, but more, what does that long-term look? And I think with faith, communication, and money being those pillars, you are able to then navigate so many things. But if we don't even have a chance to have a meeting of the minds on those three things, then it's going to be difficult for you to even know if we can make it long term.
Okay. So if you don't have faith, communication, and money, faith is our foundation.
Absolutely.
We're gonna if we're not on the same level or same space in our belief and who we praying to. If we praying to two whole different gods, we got a problem. Okay, faith has got to be primary. Our communication, if you yelling, if you always on a level 10 and I'm on level 2 all the time, it's not gonna work. And if we both on level 10 all the time, it's surely not gonna work, right?
And then also you have to know if words of affirmation is important to you, then you definitely need to make sure that the person you are seeking is expressive or can be expressive, or they're working through that, because then you have more issues that you're having to navigate because we aren't on the same level in terms of the way we communicate.
Right. So like, okay. So like if our let's say you appreciate words of affirmation. What if I don't know how to give words of affirmation? I struggle in that area. I struggle with giving words of affirmation I really do. And that's like a bad thing to me. I feel like it's bad to even say that I struggle with giving words of affirmation, but I really do sometimes. So what is the solution to that?
I think the big thing is being willing and being self-aware. And I think if the person knows that they're missing something or something is lacking in the communication, I think you have to be able to bring it to them and say, hey, this is something that I need, something that I'm missing. And this style of communication is just not working for me. And doing it early enough before there becomes this huge, of course, communication issue, because now we're going back and forth and now I'm bringing it up. Whereas before, as we're getting to know each other and getting to understand who we are at our core, being able to say, these are some of the things that I need. And if you don't know you enough to know the style that you need, it's going to be a struggle. And I think being able to articulate what you need is so key.
And that is true. And that takes maturity to be able to articulate what it is you need, because you can go along in a relationship, you can go along in a relationship and think that they are just picking you up when they're not. They're not. They have no idea. They're just completely lost. And you wondering why they're not giving you what you need. It's because I'm trying to communicate. I thought you was just going to catch it, but you didn't catch it,
But to your point, so you said, if that's not an area that you're good at, how do you fix it? Now, after having the conversation, then being able to say, I'm willing to do it different. If you can't say that, then we don't have anywhere to start. But if you can say, I'm willing to do it different, I'm willing to meet you where you're at, if you can do the same for me. Because it has to be back and forth. So if I say, okay, this is something that I'm missing, but I'm willing to meet you where you're at, then that means I need to give you some concessions, some grace to say, okay, this is what it looks like when I get what I need. And then you say, okay, so I probably can't do all of that, not right now, but I can do this and that. And you negotiate. And then you start seeing the fruit of that change. And it's not going to be overnight, but being willing and being able to say, I'm open to meeting you where you're at, and at least trying to make the effort and showing that and showing up in a different way.
Okay.
That matters.
All right. That matters.
Because everybody's not perfect and no one is going to do it exactly, the way it should be done in your head.
Usually they not.
Because then it's going to change. Because then 6
yeah.
months from now, I don't want to communicate like that. I need this now. Because you're still trying to figure yourself out.
Exactly.
Season after season, we change as women.
Exactly. We give me 30 days, you might see a whole different woman.
New hair, new nails,
new
everything.
Just different. all the way. Let me tell you something. I'm a whole different woman. I am every woman. Yes, I am. Okay.
Exactly.
So now the last area you said is money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now is he on my level when it comes to money?
And I'm not talking about necessarily the amount of money that's in your bank account. And I'm not talking about your career path. I'm saying the mindset.
Okay.
And so I work in finance. And so the three top things about money in terms of mindset is when you're thinking about that compatibility, you want to know, are they either a money maker, a money manager, or a money multiplier?
A money maker, money manager, or a money multiplier. Okay, that's three.
So now you have to know, which one am I in that three?
Okay.
Okay, for me, I'm a money maker.
Money
I
maker.
have ideas, I'm creative, I can give you a business plan in a minute. But the money multiplying it and managing it, not so much. That's not an area that I'm amazing in. I'm doing pretty good for myself.
Okay.
But now as I am having conversations, I'm looking to see, is this person going to be one of those three? Because then as it relates to faith and communication, how we communicate about money, how we think about our faith, and we're tithing, and how we think about money in that regard as well, all of it is connected.
Oh, okay.
And so now if you aren't falling into any of those three categories, then we're not on the same level. Money is an accelerator.
Yeah.
And it's not so much as the romantic type of relationships. We have business.
Right. Exactly.
Relationships have business.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that needs to be done for the long term.
Yeah.
Especially if you want it to be sustainable.
Yeah. So, okay. I love that. The money maker, money multiplier, and money manager. If both of y'all making money, but neither one of y'all know how to manage the money, you wasted.
No. We can hire somebody. Because if we're both
it.
money makers,
Okay.
then we're making it. Then that means we need to hire somebody
You
to
need to hire
manage it
somebody.
and to multiply it.
That's right. You do.
Because we can communicate.
You got proper communication. So
Exactly.
yeah. So I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Tasha, for your input and your conversing with me.
Of course, I'll always give my little 2 cents.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for joining me right here on the Aisha I Am Woman Show, where needed conversations happen. We meet every Sunday evening right here at 6:30 on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You can find me on all social media platforms under Aisha I Am Woman. Aisha means woman in Hebrew, and when I was on the path to self-discovery, I literally found myself in the Word, and that was in Genesis chapter 2, verse 23. Eve is Aisha. And so I'm the Word, and I realized that all the things that I've gone through in my life can help someone else. And that is my responsibility, is to go out into this world and help other women, help us to find our place in this world and know that we belong and we have a place, and it is significant. Okay, thank you so much again for joining me. Meet me right here again, once again, next Sunday at 6:30 Central Standard Time on the Aisha I Am Woman Show. Good night.